Hello and welcome to Power Hour. Today's topic is the Power Apps Help Desk template. We will be walking through how to install it and how to kind of get it functioning and how to make it more useful because it is really just sort of a mock-up app that doesn't have a database. So we'll be covering all those. And here's the stinger. All right, I'm Laura Rogers and this is Joelle Jobson, and Power Hour is something we do Wednesdays at 11 Central. About 11 years now we've been doing this, and it's geared towards business users of Microsoft 365, business users, power users. So what we do is not super technical. It's basically just covering all these different products like SharePoint, Teams, Power Apps, Power Automate, and all these sort of power user level type things that you can do in these products. So I send out a newsletter the day before with voting links, and you all voted today to go over the Power Apps Help Desk template. So this is something where potentially you could just follow along because this template is free and it's available to everyone as long as you have Microsoft 365 and can get to Power Apps. This doesn't require like any kind of special license. It doesn't have Dataverse or any special kind of database that requires a premium connector or anything. So even if you just have something as low as an E1 license, you're going to be able to do this. So what I'll do is I'm going to show you what the app looks like and kind of just simply what it does. And then we're going to, because I already created one, but then we're going to go through from scratch creating a brand new one because there are a few little gotchas in there just to get it up and running and functioning. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. Let's see. I want to have to add Joelle back to the screen sharing screen. All right, so here's Power Apps. And to get started, to go find this template, you're going to find it on the create screen. But again, before I do that, I have one that I already built. And I want to show you just the interface real quick so you'll know what we're getting into. So this is a help desk app that starts off with basically asking you to log in as a help desk user or a help desk admin. And if you're following along in Teams, we have chat going on in Teams, then this is actually an app that I shared the link to it in the notes section in Teams. So you could click on it and try this. If you try to log in as a help desk admin, it's not going to let you because there's a special list of people that are help desk admins. But the first thing you're going to do is log in as a help desk user. You'll be able to see tickets that you created that are currently, you can see what the status is of them, and you can create new tickets. And then if you go and log in as an admin, you're going to be able to see all the tickets and what the statuses are, and then be able to edit the tickets and modify, who they're assigned to, what % complete they have, and it's got all the information about the tickets. So it's pretty simple. It only has a few screens, but it's got some little cool, interesting things like conditional formatting on the colors and just kind of the way some of the interface looks kind of interesting. So we're going to go over how to install it, how to get it working, how some of the things just function in here, how it works. And then also, this is just based on collections. So when you run the app, it doesn't have a database. It doesn't have an Excel spreadsheet. It doesn't have a SharePoint list or anything. It's just creating collections on the fly right when you open the app, and they're just temporary. So by default, this doesn't store the data anywhere. So we're also going to get to kind of how you could create like a SharePoint list to have that be the place where your data goes so that this will be more useful. It is really just lovely and pretty, but it really kind of doesn't have an actual function unless you have an actual database. So, all right, let's go to, that's the one I already created. And again, let me show you in Teams real quick where that link is. This is where you are if you've joined us in Teams and chat. If you haven't joined yet, by the way, wherever you're watching this video, there's going to be a link below to request to join because you have to request so that we add you as an external user in here. And that's how you can get in and chat with us. So here's our chat over here on the right. And this is the notes tab right here. And that's where I add notes each week. And like today is 7/17, so this is the Power Apps Help Desk template. And you can actually click this button. If you are currently logged into our tenant and chatting with us, you can click that to try it out. Here's Microsoft's official documentation on this template. It doesn't have much there. So let's go ahead and get started. And it's fun having this interactivity of you all being in here chatting with us. So ask questions, tell us what you think, and just kind of have some fun while we're doing this. Okay, so you're going to start off to create this. You'll go to the main screen in Power Apps, and you can click Create, and you have these templates. So it just says Start from Templates, and all these templates are listed here. We've done a couple of these before in Power Hour. We did the one where you something with meetings, and that thing was a beast. It had a lot going on in there. Let's see, where did it go? Not Service Desk, but Help Desk. Here it is, Help Desk. So you click on Help Desk, you can change the name if you'd like, and you can click Create. And wait 5 minutes, and then it's going to let you know that this is the only data source, the only connection it's got. It's just looking at your user profile. Now, this is a really old template. So this template has been around probably at least 5 years. Maybe, I think Power Apps has been around about 7 years. So this template has been around since like almost the very beginning. So it's pretty old. So it's got, there are certain features that it's going to help you to be able to turn on. Like, for example, the list of data sources you're used to seeing down the left side. That's the first thing that jumps out at me that is not enabled in here. So I can go to Settings. And so the first one that you're going to want to enable is the App on Start property. And that is telling you that you're going to have to completely close the app and go back in before that goes into effect. That's fine. And then you're going to go to a feature called Use Column Display Names, and you have to turn that on. How do I know that you have to turn that on? I'll just show you real quick. Because when you try to turn on the Improved Data Source Experience, that's the thing that turns on the data source list of data sources on the left. It tells you, it will tell you each of the other features you have to turn on first. So relational data, option sets, and other new features. So I have to go find that. So as you can see, this is kind of a pain. Relational, let's see. Yeah, there it is. It's a retired feature. So you have to turn that on. And then let's go try it again. It's going to tell me a different one that I have to turn on. Use column display names. So I have to go do that. Let's see, column, there it is. Turn that on. And then go back to general and turn on the improved data source experience. So now I have my little database icon on the left, finally. Now I do need to, for the app on start thing to go into effect, I do need to save this. So I click save up here and then go back out and then go back in because it told me the app needed to be refreshed. So I'll go to my apps and then here's the new one that I just created and I'll go back in and edit that. So yeah, as you can see, I wanted to show you kind of all these weird little obscure things that I had to do just to make this more useful. Okay, so now it's got the database list over here. So that's the first thing usually I want to know when I open up a Power App template is what data source is it using? Because sometimes these templates use Excel. And so if you use Excel, it usually would put the Excel spreadsheet in your OneDrive. And that's also kind of a fairly temporary, like you wouldn't use Excel as your data source in like a real world app. So this has just got a bunch of collections. So when I see a bunch of collections, that is going to mean that when the app first starts up, it's creating those collections. So inherently, this is all very temporary. So when I go to the OnStart, I can format text to kind of spread this out. I can see all these different collections it's creating. So it's creating the list of categories, the statuses, priorities. This is the admin list. So if you're trying this at home and you are installing this and following along and trying to get it to function and you want to be able to click the admin of a help desk button on that main welcome screen, you have to go ahead and add your own email address here. So like right now, if I preview this and I try to click login as a help desk admin, it tells me you're unable to give you access as an admin because your account doesn't have admin privileges, but that is just a list. So it's just in here in the OnStart as just a list of email addresses, and it's called admin list. So you would just put a comma here and do your email address. So then now I'll be able to click the button. Review and I have to, so if you change something, that's a good point. If you change something here in the OnStart, it doesn't automatically put my email address in the list. I have to run the OnStart again. So it's going to go create all those collections all over again. So then my name will be in the list, and then I'll be able to log in as a help desk admin. And one of the collections it created was these tickets themselves, and it creates 2 tickets just inherently. So you all are going to see these same exact 2 tickets when you try it out. Any questions so far? Just let me know in the chat. Okay, so let's look at what the screens are. It's got a login screen, a confirm submit screen. So when you create a ticket, it's going to let you know. It's got a confirm delete, which means after you delete your ticket, this is my tickets, view tickets, create ticket, edit ticket, and then it's letting you know. So this is good. They put documentation built into this template, letting you know what all this is. So it's describing all the different collections and variables. That's really helpful. And then setup is letting you know, it's probably going to have a link to that Microsoft documentation. Let me see. Yeah, this is that same link that I just put in the notes. So I'm pretty sure it looks the same. Yeah. All right, so let's go over to, that's the one that I just created from scratch. Let's go over to the one that I already created. And we're going to dig into a few of these just kind of functionalities in here and see what, see how it works. Because sometimes a lot of the cool stuff with these templates is just little interesting visual things that they do, right? So it doesn't have a lot of complicated functionality, but it's got an interesting way that they do conditional formatting on these colors. It's got like kind of a pretty interface where they created to make these buttons look nice, and they have just the way that you go in there and look at the list and look at each item. It's formatted in an interesting way. So we're going to dig into we're going to click through in the interface as it looks to an end user, and then we'll look at what the admin sees, and then we'll kind of dig into what's interesting. And you all let me know in the chat as I go if you want to see like, oh, how did they do that? And then we can go kind of deep dive into anything particular that you think is interesting. Did you ever have any, Joelle, do you have anybody wanting, like, ever hear customers asking for something like this, like a help desk template that you could, that they could have just at their company, just needing to have something like this?
I have in the past, yeah. Not recently, but I have.
It seems like a pretty common concept that companies would want to have. Okay, so I'll show you what it does and then how it works, and then we're going to try and I'd like to make this so it can be a SharePoint list so that it can actually be useful and keep and store the data and be able to have a real help desk system. So let's go ahead and go back to the login screen. So the first thing we're going to do in this walkthrough is go through as a help desk user, just an end user. And again, you can follow along if you click on the link that I shared. You'll be able to log in as a user, as a help desk user. You just won't be able to log in as an admin because your name's not in that specific list of admins. Okay, so here I have my help desk tickets, and I've created a couple already. I'll go ahead and create a brand new one. And I'll just say mouse, doesn't work. And then that is it basically equipment or software? So it's an equipment issue, and I can tell what the priority should be. And then click create. So then it's not obvious after you open a ticket, but this button will take you back to your main list of tickets. So these are the these are the tickets that I've created, and it has a little bit of information about them. They haven't been assigned to anyone yet, but I can go in and edit. Notice that it's grayed out certain things in here. So I can't edit the status. The status is something that the admin is going to do. I can't edit the percent complete or who it's assigned to, but I can, it is going to let me edit some other things, like maybe I want the priority to be medium and update it. So, and that's up to you and your organization if you want people to be able to edit your their help desk tickets after they open them. And I can also delete one. So this is going to take me to that delete screen. You're right, Carolyn. You are not going to be able to click on that link that I shared with you all if you're logged in to my tenant as an external user that doesn't already have a Power Apps account. So yes, that is correct. We actually did a whole Power Hour about how that works. It was kind of fun. We went in there and, had different users try it out from, different types of external users to kind of show. And also I showed how you could go into the list of users in Azure and Intra, whatever it's called now. And I could actually go in and assign you a license if this was the real world and I needed external users to be able to do this. So I'll delete that. So that was what the delete screen looks like. And then log out is what takes you back to the main screen. So the help desk user the interface is pretty simple. They can just see their list, add new ones, and then edit or delete existing ones. And then the admin, as soon as you log in as an admin, you immediately see all of the tickets and you can also delete them. So as an admin, when I edit one of these, I can change the status, put in progress. I'll just change that one to deferred. Let's see. And maybe I only worked on it a little bit. And then assign to, I'll put Joelle Jobson. That's actually a people picker. You notice it listed a ton of people in there. So that's actually people that are in this tenant. And then, so the help desk person can edit everything about it. And so I'll scroll down and click update. So now it's got purple because it's deferred. It says who it's assigned to. And then when I go log in as the help desk user, now the help desk user who created that ticket can also see who it's assigned to and what its status is. So that gives them an interface where they can see what's going on with their tickets. All right, so it's pretty simple. There isn't much to it. Even when you create a new ticket, when you're logged in as an admin, it doesn't have like it doesn't have a different form or anything like that. So again, it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's really just got some cool ways that they're displaying things in here. So we'll go back to this little main screen. And so what it's doing when you log in as an admin is it's looking at, I'll do format text. This app was created before Microsoft came out with this format text button. So all the functions are going to be kind of all mashed together in all these formulas. So you can always just go to every single place where you see these and click format text. And so it's looking to see if you're an admin. So that's the first thing that I'm going to look at to see how that works. So I'm going to go to, I can see that this is that collection that it creates. So admin list, when it gets created, when I go to the on start here, it is just one column. It is just email addresses, and that's all. So it's just a wall of email addresses. So that's what it's collecting, and that's what it's creating just when the app opens. And then, so it's called admin list, and then it's collecting these 2 temporary these little test tickets, and then it's counting them. And so when I click this button to log in as a help desk admin, what is it doing? So it's looking to see, so my profile, that is your Office 365 profile from this Office 365 users connector. So this myprofile.mail is just built into that connector. You could also do the user function with the open and close parenthesis .email. That would also give you the logged in user's email address. So it's looking to see if the current user is in that admin list of people. And so if they are, then they're setting a variable called isAdmin to true. If not, isAdmin is false. So if they're an admin, when they click the button, it navigates them directly to that ticket screen. If not, it's going to show them that error. So set show access error to true. And then the access error is also on here. Let's see. Yeah, it's a hidden, it's just hidden text that says we're unable to give you access as an admin. So this text is always here. It's just the visible property is whether or not it's supposed to show the access error. So as soon as you click the button to log in, you're not an admin, it shows you the error. So probably in the real world, you wouldn't have people choosing whether they're a user or an admin. You would just automatically look to see if they're an admin as soon as they open the app. To me, that would be more efficient. And you would just do this just in the app on start and not have to make them do an extra click. So that's just one little thing that I think would be a little bit more efficient. And then I'll go ahead and log in as a help desk user. Let's look at this screen. So this screen is pretty cool looking. It's got my ticket screen, and this is the same screen that the admin goes to. It's the same screen that the end user goes to, but notice that when you're an admin, it shows you everything. And if you're an end user, it's only showing you your tickets. So how do they do that, first of all? So on this My Ticket screen, this is a gallery. And this gallery, I'll format the text here. So it's pretty simple. It says if admin and is admin, and is admin is a Boolean, just true or false. So if you are an admin, I'm going to show the ticket list sorted by ID and just with the newest IDs on top. If you're not an admin, so otherwise, so this is the if else, you're going to filter. So you're sorting it and you're also filtering it where author equals myprofile.mail. So you're filtering it down to only show that person their tickets. So an end user's never going to be able to see the full list of tickets. And then here, another interesting thing they did was so they've got this gallery mask on here, which it looks like it's just a shape that they placed on top of this whole gallery item so that I can't click on any specific thing. I think they did that so that when the person clicks just anywhere on that whole box, that it will take them where they're supposed to go. Also, this is another kind of residual thing that didn't exist when Power Apps was brand new. The fact that you can have an on select just for the whole gallery item, and you don't have to do on selects for every single individual thing in that gallery template. So I'm going to just delete the mask. Yeah, so I just deleted that gallery mask so that I can go in here. And so what I was talking about, let me undelete it and see what kind of action it has on it first. Yeah, it has an on select. So it's navigating. So I do still want to navigate. So I can't delete that. I've got to take this thing and I've got to put it in the on select for the whole gallery. And that's just giving me the ability to not have to have this thing in the way when I'm trying to edit it. And I can take the on select of that whole gallery and I'm navigating. So anything they click on, they're going to navigate. Okay. So this is the first thing I wanted to look at. So the task status. So it's just the task status field, but why? How are they making it show different colors? Now, we did a whole other Power Hour about conditional formatting in a gallery and how to make the different colors show, but let's look at and see how they did it here. So this is going to be the color property. So they're using a switch, and if you use an if statement, it can only be just if this or this other thing, or else you have to do a bunch of nested ifs, which is not efficient. But a switch is if you have one piece of data and you want it to do a lot of different things based on different conditions. So they're using a switch to say this is the field we're looking at, the task status, and if it's deferred, I want it to be this color. If it's completed, I want it to be this color, etc. And they're using color value here with hex codes. There's several different ways you could display colors in here. You could literally just type the name of the color, but they're using the color value with hex codes. So they just all have different colors just depending on what, so that's where it's defined as to what the colors of the task statuses are going to be. And then these are all just labels, just displaying the data from inside of that item. Let's go look at what it looks like when you edit it. So this is going to be the edit screen. What's this screen called? Let me see. This is the view ticket screen. And this is, now I think this is the one that's looking to see, you know, if I'm an admin or an end user. So let me double check what I logged in as when I did this one. Let me see, edit ticket, my help desk ticket. So I'm a user. So I'm a help desk user right now. I'm not logged in as an admin. So you can see that some of this is grayed out. They can't edit. So how did they make this screen look and function the way they did? Let's see. So I'll go back out of preview. And first of all, they have this really just a rectangle. It's a button and it's got a bunch of labels on it. So it's just like, oh yeah, they put the rectangle on top of all the labels. Let's see if they did the same thing. Yeah, there's nothing in the on select. They just put a rectangle on top of it for fun. There's nothing special. Let's see. Let me see. It's like, I don't think they did anything special on this rectangle. I think they're just, it's just to make it look, but the thing is it's on the bottom. So it's not covering anything. The other one in the gallery was on top so that you couldn't click on all the items in the fields. So this is not on top. It's at the very bottom. So it's really just, they're using it as a black rectangle. So then we have all these are just labels, and a label inherently is not editable. So it's just providing, it's just showing you a bunch of data. So labels are a very compact way to show just a little piece of information as opposed to having to have like a form field, you know, like in a form where the form fields take up a bunch of space. Well, labels are read only, but they don't take up that much space. You can just put a bunch of them in here. So it's got the priority. Let's see if they're doing anything different with how this is displayed based on what your kind of like what your role is. Let's see. No. Okay. So this actually, let's see, let's look at what this screen is called. This is called the view ticket screen. So I'm going to go log in as an admin and just see if maybe the admins have a completely different screen that they go to, which would be an easy way. Now, in the real world where you're building apps and you need two different roles of people to have two different experiences on a screen, you have a couple of different options. One is to have two completely different screens. And the negative thing about that is that then anytime you want to make changes as you're developing the app, then you just have to go make changes and add fields and things on both screens, but it keeps it simple as far as the logic. Or you could have a single screen and then put logic on all the different controls to make them, you know, either look like they're read-only or, you know, not clickable or grayed out and things like that. And then you have to do logic in all these little places, which is, you know, it's a lot of work. So you kind of have more work either way, but you just have to kind of weigh it as far as which one you'd prefer to spend a lot of time on. Okay, so that's the end user perspective they're taking to this view ticket screen. Now let's see what the end user can do when they edit it. Maybe that's where the key is here. So I'm on the edit ticket screen and the end user has the status not started, % complete, grayed out. So I think that's where they did their logic. So the view ticket screen is going to look the same no matter who you are, but it looks like they put their logic on this edit ticket screen. So the first thing I'm going to look at is the display mode. Yep, that's what I thought. So this is the status drop-down box, and it says if is admin, and again, that's a Boolean, just true or false, then display mode edit, otherwise display mode disabled. So that's why it looks like grayed out like that. Now there's an interesting thing about the disabled display mode, and I'll show you, like if I put view, edit, view, and disabled are the 3 different display modes. So if I make it look like it's a view display mode, it's a completely different experience. So when you're viewing it, it just looks like just this flat text box. But when you have the display mode as disabled, you're clearly conveying to the end user that this is a drop-down box that you can't edit because it's grayed out. So it's really kind of, you're deciding whether you want to send a message to the user like, oh, you're just looking at this information, or make it clear to them that this is something that someone else can edit that you can't edit. So when you make something, also the cool thing about the display mode disabled is that you can actually have different, you can set your disabled background, disabled fill, disabled border color, disabled fill. So you can have all these specific colors that you set when it's disabled, and you can't do that with the view display mode. So a little interesting tidbit there. And then let's see. So they did the same thing. It looks like on this little slider, it's just if admin, same exact concept. And then it's just displaying all these as labels. So they're just setting each one of these cards or controls to have a different display mode based on if you're an admin or not. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. So let me go preview this and click cancel. And then go and log in as an admin. And I can go edit one of these and notice that, oh, this looks really cool the way they did this slider. So I'm an admin and I'm viewing it. So I'm really just on the view ticket screen. So again, it doesn't have logic. It doesn't seem like there's any logic determining if I'm an admin or not, if it's showing anything different on the view ticket screen. But this is something really cool looking that I'm going to dig into, because sliders don't look like this just in the wild usually. So this looks like it's another custom interesting thing they built in here. And that was kind of the goal of this video, is to go find just little interesting things that are not out of the box, that the way they made things look in here, and just kind of some of the functionality. So this is it's just a grouping. It's just a grouping of a few fields. So it's got a shape. So this is an icon right here. This whole thing is an icon. And then this is a tiny little label, and this is a button, and then this is a button. So it's a button on top of a button. So you know what? I know why they used buttons for this, because buttons have a radius. Where's the radius? Border radius. So a rectangle or a label is not going to have a border radius property. So since they wanted this to look kind of interesting and to have these rounded corners, they used a button control, and they just set the button radius to have this radius of border radius to have radius of 10, which gives it those little curved edges. And then they have, so how did they make it look like a % complete bar when it's really just labels and buttons? So what they did is this bottom button is just, it's just disabled. Like these aren't clickable or anything. So they just set the display mode to disabled for all these. And the bottom button just has a width of 510 pixels. And then this top button is where the logic, where the magic is happening. So this one has a width, and the width is going to be variable. So that's why it's 90%, and that's how it makes itself look like it's going 90% across on top of that bottom bar. So it's taking 510, which is the width of that other bar, and it's just multiplying it times the selected ticket % complete. So it's just doing math right here. So the % complete for this one is 90%, and it's just multiplying it. So that's how it's getting its width. Now, another thing you could do is, like, this button down here is called View Ticket Completed, View Ticket Screen Completed Background. If I wanted to make this more relative, what I could do is go to this top button, and instead of just a more efficient way of doing this, would be, instead of just typing 510 in here, you would put the name of that other control.width times the percentage complete. So if you had an app that was like had a width that was changing, then no matter what that width of that other button is, it would adjust itself relatively. Also, let's go see how they did this. So what I'm really interested in is how they got this little icon here to show right in the correct spots compared to, you know, to the bar. Because if I go to another ticket, let's go see, I'll go view, let's see, this one, I don't know which one I clicked on, let me see. Oh yeah, see this one's only 80% and see that it's in a different place. So the icon they're using is, where'd my mouse go? Their icon they're using is like a little chat bubble icon, and they just have a label of the percent complete just on top of that chat icon. So let's go look at the location, like the X and Y of this icon. So this is going to be the view ticket screen completed color button dot width. So that's the top button, the one that has a variable width, plus 25 pixels. So it's just no matter where that red bar is, it's putting itself 25 pixels to the right. And then the this tiny little label here, let me see if I can zoom in a little. This little label inside of here, let's see what its location is. Yeah, so it's just taking that same width of that red button and just adding 48 pixels. So this icon is going to be plus 25 pixels, and then this label is just plus 48 pixels, and that's just how they get it to line up to always go along with it. Any questions so far? Carolyn mentioned that she said, they need something like this in their company. Yeah, I'm glad this is helpful. Great. Okay. Now let's go to this concept of having this data actually be in SharePoint, because that's probably what you're going to want to do if you want to put this in production. SharePoint or some other database. So what I'm looking at when I look at these collections, they're listed here. I want this to be SharePoint instead of collections. So these other ones are really simple: category, status, priority, admin list. Those are going to be really small, simple lists. So what I'm going to start with is the ticket list, because there's a lot more to it with that one. So how do I know how to create my SharePoint list, like what columns it needs? So what I did was I went to the Clear Collects in the OnStart. So this one, I could create a SharePoint list called task categories. This one could be a SharePoint list called task status and task priority. And then you could create a SharePoint list called admin list. You could create all these as SharePoint lists. Once you do that, though, there's going to be a lot that's going to break in the app that you have to know, like all the little places to go fix it. So this is going to be an exercise in, this is kind of always what I do towards the end of Power Hour, is break stuff and just kind of see what can go awry. So that's what we're doing now. So this ticket list, this is how you can see what all the fields need to be in your SharePoint list. So SharePoint already has an ID column, which is a capital I and a capital D. So that's the first thing that jumps out at me, is that I'm going to have to go change these references. Like once I get rid of this, all the references in the app that are looking for the ID, it's going to have the wrong case. So I'll have to go fix that in several places. So title is something we already have in SharePoint. Let me go to the list. I went ahead and created it so it wouldn't spend a bunch of time creating columns. So title is already built in. You'll already have that in your SharePoint list. And then description, category, these are all just text columns. These are all just, and I can tell that they're text because they have, even the percent complete has quotes around it. So it looks like they're all just text. So all I did was create them as text in SharePoint. Now, assign to, notice that it's got a capital T and a capital O. So they need to be case sensitive. So that's what I did here. And then now author is a built-in SharePoint field. It is the created by field. So the system name of the created by field in SharePoint is author. The system name of the modified by field in SharePoint is editor. So I left those alone. I didn't create new ones. And also SharePoint already has a created and a modified field. So now these are going to be in a different sort of structure and syntax as the built-in SharePoint fields, because the SharePoint ones, they're people fields, and they have sort of a more advanced structure. So that will be a challenge to fix those. But yeah, so those are all just the columns that I created, and I went ahead and just created one item, and I just filled in, again, just all text. So once you do this in the real world, I'm just creating them all as text, but those are all things that you might want to change and adjust to be, drop downs and things like that. So I'm trying to make this conversion very, very simple, but you could spend a lot of time like converting all these different, like all the other lists, you can make them just be drop downs in here or lookups or something like that. Now, usually you don't want the end users going straight to the list in SharePoint. So in a lot of cases, it doesn't matter if they're all just getting stored as text. It doesn't hurt anything if they're never actually going here and clicking add new item or doing anything directly in here. If you only have them editing their tickets in the app, then it doesn't really impact as much if it's just text fields. So I created a ticket list. I'm going to go ahead and take this and pull it in as a data source. SharePoint. And that is in my IT site and ticket list. And notice that I named it the exact same thing that's in the Power App. That's important. All your fields should have the exact same names, case sensitive, everything, space sensitive, everything. So I've named this the exact same name as the collection, so that I'll have less things that break in this app. Okay, now this is important to point out. I created ticket list, and it's got the exact same name as an existing data source. So it's not going to let me add it. Well, it's saying, do I want to replace it? And it says, if I replace it, any local data saved in this collection will be lost. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to replace it. I'm just going to say it, never mind. I don't want ticket list _1. I'm going to remove that. I want to just replace ticket list with my ticket list. So I'm going to rename this other one. So how do I rename it? What I do is I go back to the OnStart. This is why it's getting kind of hairy, right? It's getting a little tricky. I'll call this ticket list old. So now when it clear collects and it looks for ticket list, it's going to get ticket list old. And I'll go run my OnStart. So now look, everything broke. So now I don't have a ticket list anymore. I just have ticket list old. So now when I pull in my SharePoint, go back to ticket list. So now I've got ticket list. So now it just replaced every reference in this app to ticket list collection is now referring to ticket list SharePoint. Notice that a bunch of those errors went away when I did that. So now let's go find all the errors. So I'm just going to start at the beginning of this app and see, okay, so no errors on this screen. And I could just go to this little app checker too, and you can see that it's got a ton of errors. Let's go visually look at where those errors are though. So I've got, now it's not going to have any help tickets listed here because this is my help tickets and the help desk user is only going to see their own. So let's go see what's broken in this gallery. So it is, I'll go to the items property. The items is the property where that tells you what the data source is supposed to be. And this is exactly, look at this. This is exactly what I said was going to happen. It has a lowercase d for ID. So for this one, all I have to do is change it to ID. And then that fixes the gallery, but then you have all these other little errors. So each time you see one of these little red errors, you can just click it and click edit in the formula bar. So this one says author equals myprofile.mail. Now remember, author was just a piece of text in that collection, and author in SharePoint is going to be that created by field. So I want author.email. So the email has to equal the email. So that was pretty simple to fix. Go to another one. So every place that it's going to reference ID, author, or editor, it's going to have red errors. So look how cool. So that gallery works now. So let's go find all these other issues that it's got. I'll just go click on it. See if this one has any errors. Yep. So ID. Now, one thing you can do in here is let's go utilize some cool functionality in here. So I'm going to search for capital I, lowercase d. And I'm going to find, look at this. So it's got on start, it's creating that collection, which I'm not really as concerned with that. But it's got, see, it's finding ID in like all these other little weird, I don't want it in the like names of the, I don't want to find ID in the names of the properties. I want to find the actual word ID in the data. So I can filter this. Instead of all, I just want it to be in the data. So that's yeah, I'm just gonna have to go find, I'll just go edit these. So coalesce, so this has got to be author dot email. Anytime it says author, I need to replace it with author dot email. And I'm glad you like that. That's awesome, Glenna. Yeah, there's a whole word only somewhere in there. Okay, let me see. Batch case match whole word. Yep, there you go. You're right. So this is just that collection, so I'm not going to worry about that. ID, there's one. Now you can do replace too. So replace with, and I'll put ID, and then we'll do that. Replace all. Ooh, this is scary. Doing a replace all is like, oh, okay. Look at how many errors went away though. I only have 19. I had like 40 something errors. So then I could replace author with author.email. Let's see. Whole word only. Now, I don't know if that is going to break the ones that I had already fixed that one. And I'll put editor.email. I don't know if editor's anywhere in here, but we'll see. Place. Oh, look, I've got 132 formula errors now. I don't think that was a good idea. Let's go see what I broke. That's awesome. Okay. Yeah, I think I broke something by doing that, doing those replace alls. Oh yeah, see the one, I had a handful that I had fixed already and it broke those. So I have to go find those again real quick. Oh, I'll just search for author.email.email. Author.email.email. Replace it with just author.email. And go. It's just 2. But why do I have 126 errors? Oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's putting it in a lot of places where it didn't need that, where it didn't need to put a .email. So it just had like editor colon when it was setting a bunch of, so yeah, I probably shouldn't have done a replace all. I probably should have been more surgical in that one. Yeah, undo. Let's see how many times it'll undo. Let me see. Oh, maybe I could just watch the formula errors go down. The thing about undo in Power Apps is that it's not always, it doesn't always work the best. So this is really just like a warning to everyone. Yeah, I'm clicking undo like a whole bunch and it's not undoing it. So yeah, that's fine. Yeah, so it wouldn't, so I could go back and do it again and say like replace editor email with just editor and just like literally just do the opposite of what I just did. Yeah. Oh yeah, the errors went down. So anyway, so that is, those are a couple of different ways where we can, that we can fix this and make it more related to something in SharePoint. So let me see if I can fix these. It's just got a lot in here that you know, I hadn't dug through this whole thing to see what's going on in here. So assign to, I'm trying to figure out what the author, yeah. So it's patching. Okay, right now, okay, so what this is also another weird thing it had going on because it was just a collection. It's patching to the collection. So a more efficient way than patching. So when someone's clicking submit, when they're creating a new ticket, or when they're editing a ticket, it's just patching to the collection. So all those could be changed if they're using a form control, which we'll have to check that. They might not be. If they were using a form control on those screens instead of just a bunch of controls, then the form control can just have a submit. So this is another one of those things that's a residual from really old Power Apps, is that there was no form control. So there wasn't a submit function that would just submit everything. So literally you had to patch and you had to go set every field to what the value needed to be instead of just being able to submit the whole thing. So that's what this is doing, is it's patching to the ticket list. And like I can't patch to SharePoint. I can't patch the author to SharePoint because SharePoint automatically just built in has the author is the person that created the item. So you can't actually write to that field. So that's another one. Editor, you can't do that. Also, let's see. And modified, you can't edit that. Modified's gonna, you know, it's gonna automatically update itself to whenever you actually modify it. So that's one of those ones. So there are a few fields in here when you're patching that you wouldn't need to patch in the like created also. You can't patch that one. Okay, so let's go see what else. So formulas. Let's go look at where else. So coalesce. So selected ticket dot editor. So this is, okay, so what is this doing? So where is this? Let me see. We're finding additional functionality in here. So it's taking the editor, whoever edited the item, and it's doing all this complicated stuff just to show who the editor is. So really for the modified by, it's just going to be like the modified by. Let's see this item. Doesn't have this item. Oh, hold on. What is it using to refer to? Oh yeah, selected ticket dot. Okay, selected ticket dot, and then modified by. Yeah, there we go. Modified by dot display name. So it was doing all this complicated stuff just to show the person's display name. So I just made it really much more simple. So let's see what else is. There's another one. I need to go to the error. And same thing with this one. Modified by is just going to be selected ticket dot modified by dot display name. And so yeah, you could just go through all these and kind of do the same exercise that I've been doing and get rid of, like, you can't patch to the editor, you can't patch modified, you can't patch editor here. So like getting rid of some of the stuff that it was doing that was inefficient is, see that now I fixed that. So yeah. So once you kind of understand how this works and how the fields work, then you'll be able to it'll make more sense as far as how easy it is to just kind of go and find and replace and just find all the spots that just have that residual information in them. Now let's go see if it will actually create a ticket. So I want to try and actually create a ticket in here in the next 5 minutes and have it go to SharePoint. So what I want to do is go to the this screen, and I want to see first of all what the create button does. So it patches. And it patches to the ticket list, which is fine. It's in SharePoint, and it takes, it just takes these fields, which I did create in SharePoint, and it's patching whatever information I put in those fields, and then it's just resetting the form so that they could, you know, create another ticket if they wanted to. So I'll call this test from app. blah, blah, priority medium, test from app, create. And then we'll go look at SharePoint, refresh it. Oh, it's not there. Hold on. Don't see it. Let's see if it gave me an error. The patch looked like it was correct, but you know. There's, again, anytime you do this with these template apps and you want to make them function in the real world, this is important. Okay, so if you like these templates that Microsoft has created, before you even dig in and start modifying the template, what you need to decide is it worth it spending like a few hours going in here and switching the data sources and finding all the errors and doing this, or just creating it from scratch and just using the template as like a learning tool and just finding kind of the little cool things they did, like with the % complete and the color coding, and just take those concepts and put them in your brand new app. So it's usually actually more time efficient to just start from scratch than it is to take one of these templates and try to make it a real world app and try to create all the lists and have it have real data in it. So just kind of a heads up there. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. I never expected that I would actually have it functioning with the SharePoint list and have data actually appear in the SharePoint list. So that would have been a bonus. But I just wanted to show y'all how it works and try to, if you want to use any of these templates, just kind of use these same principles of looking at maybe the interesting things you like about them, and then creating your own app and implementing those just little things here and there, as opposed to trying to take the whole thing and make it your own. So that's usually just the standard best practice, is to start from scratch. So yeah. Well, thanks everybody for coming. I appreciate it. And you can go to iwmentor.com, click the schedule button at the top to see when our next power hours are going to be, and check out our training. We have SharePoint, Power Apps, Power Automate, Teams. We just revamped the Teams training. So thanks everybody for coming, and thanks Joelle, and we'll see you all.